and we are live for another edition of the All Gas No Break Sports Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Nicholas Pavone, joined alongside, as always, by my co-host, Andrew Johnson. And Johnson, it's that time of the year. WrestleMania season is on the horizon. Next Saturday and Sunday, WrestleMania 41 takes place in Las Vegas, Nevada at Allegiant Stadium, and it's a very stacked card going into WrestleMania 41. I haven't done the exact total of how many matches we have going into next weekend, but it is certainly a lot. Might be even more than we had last year when you and I both went to Philadelphia and watched WrestleMania 40. But it's a very stacked card. Some very interesting storylines going in to this WrestleMania 41, and we'll see if it delivers the hype that it did last season's WrestleMania as well.
So it's actually one under. We had 14 last year, and we have 13 officially right now. But there's going to be that Randy Orton kind of question mark.
So it's going to be the same amount.
Yeah, it's going to be the same amount. And I think 7 matches for WrestleMania is fine. We had 15 last or 2 years ago, and I think that's because you had that. I think that was the Roman Vince one. Not Roman Vince. The Pat McAfee.
They had the Pat McAfee fight Miz, and then they had Shane McMahon fight the Miz, and then Shane McMahon got hurt.
Yeah. So so 7's the standard, because I think in the modern PLE era, 5 has been the standard, right? Yep. And everyone agrees that's perfect because they're long matches. You have some time in between. The cards are about 3 hours long, and when it comes to the Royal Rumble and stuff like that, you have 4 because et cetera, et cetera. But 5 is perfect in this era. And for WrestleMania having 7, because you have the long entrances and everything and whatnot, it still feels like WrestleMania. It's going to start at 7 p.m. Eastern, and it's probably going to end around 11 o'clock, 11:30 if I had to guess.
Yeah, there's so all that hours for each show.
So no one has matches get cut short. Like, for example, WrestleMania 35 when we in MetLife Stadium, that Rey Mysterio Samoa Joe match was like 30 seconds long because they went over. And there's 15 matches. So
yeah,
even if someone goes over, again, they control their own destiny because they're on Peacock right now. And, they can go over a little bit. They can go under a little bit. It doesn't really matter. So, yeah, I'm excited about this WrestleMania. So this is going to be the first WrestleMania, actually, where Triple H has 100% creative control. Because remember, WrestleMania 39 was Vince's last WrestleMania, right? That was when he had control, and people said, "Oh, he made Cody lose," et cetera, stuff like that. But WrestleMania 40, even though Vince wasn't running the company, these were all his storylines. Because WrestleMania 40 was a culmination of multiple 2, 3, 4 year storylines, right?
Yeah.
Cody finally winning. It was Bayley in Damage Control, Io Sky, that set up in SummerSlam a couple years before that. It was a culmination of a lot of storylines here that Vince had set up, and this one is Triple H's first solo WrestleMania, in my opinion. Where he's telling storylines, it's his finishes, and it's gonna be his matches through and through. So I'm excited for this.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it right. It's in terms of this Mania, it's a very interesting one. A lot of multi-men or multi-person matches. We have a couple of triple threats, a tag team match, a fatal 4-way is involved. There's even a street fight match that's happening this one. So there's a lot of different match types and stuff for this one. I think it's going to come down to, last year's Mania is tough to build off of because, you compare with, because last year's Mania had so many big different factors. You had The Rock obviously returning to in-ring competition. We had that insane Bloodline Rules match that involved John Cena and The Undertaker. And then you had the rest of the stuff that happened that weekend. Sami Zayn ends Gunther's long Intercontinental title run. Cody wins and ends Roman's long, not Intercontinental, a Universal title run. You had an insane tag team ladder match that happened that weekend as well. Other than one match, that entire weekend was pretty good in terms of match type. It was a really good, strong showing from all the wrestlers that weekend. And not to discredit the other two that had that bad match, but they tried. It just wasn't a good match entirely. But we'll see if one of those two guys will have a better WrestleMania this year, because he is involved in a very big matchup that's going to happen on Saturday night. And speaking of Saturday night, Johnson, let's go into WrestleMania Saturday night's card, and we'll make our predictions for that show. I might also look back to last year to see how we did last year in terms of our picks for the show. I think you and I did pretty well looking back in that one. So
Yeah, we did really well last year, actually. I mean, a bunch of surprises, but overall we did pretty well.
it looks like I got four wrong, and I got one half of it right. The other half was wrong. You had five wrong, and the same thing with the tag team match, where you had half of it right, the second half was wrong.
I mean, listen, it was a very unpredictable Mania because we had, obviously no spoiler alert here, but Gunther ended up losing there, which was a complete
Yeah,
shocker to everyone. Would you assume that would be a lock?
I
Uh,
thought for sure he was gonna win.
but yeah, it was very very unfortunate for us because
Big Gunther
it
fans,
is what
yeah,
it is. But yeah.
yeah. And it might be another fortunate weekend for us being Gunther fans this weekend. We'll talk about that in a few moments. Let's start off with the World Tag Team title match that's going to happen on Saturday between the War Raiders and the New Day. I think you and I are both of are the same essence where the tag team title picture right now on both Raw and Smack. Maybe not SmackDown. SmackDown's gotten pretty good their last couple of weeks, but unfortunately, their title match is on the SmackDown before WrestleMania, which, in my opinion, I don't think made any sense. I think this match should have been maybe on the Raw before Mania, and the SmackDown tag title should have been on Mania. But I digress. New Day taking on the War Raiders. I have the feeling the New Day have to win this match, in my opinion. It's nothing against the War Raiders. I think it's just Raw needs a different face of that tag team division right now. They need someone to chase after right now. The War Raiders, it's not against them. They just haven't been defending the title since they've won it against the Judgment Day back in what was that, December or January. The New Day have to probably win this match, in my opinion. So I'm going to pick the New Day to win.
Yeah, if New Day need to win this match, I remember back in I've been very critical for years. The New Day has to break up. I was not really a big fan of them the last couple of years. Now, granted, it was a gimmick that started with a lot of controversy. A lot of people didn't like them. They started as preachers, et cetera, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they won the crowd over, right? The
Yep.
pancakes, the cereal,
It's your
whatever, the power
Bootios. Did you
positivity.
have a box
Yeah,
of Bootios?
I never did. I know you do.
I did. I had one
Yeah, I know.
box. It's basically just Lucky Charms for those wondering. So it's just the
Yeah,
same thing.
yeah, and during the whole breakup thing, we were all excited because okay, the 10-year anniversary, they finally got breakup, and then they turned heel on Big E. It's like, oh, this is a completely new direction with the New Day. This could be interesting.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it's been interesting, but not interesting enough. So give him the titles because even though it's been lackluster so far, I think if you give him the titles and they could be true heel champions, it'll paint their picture way differently, 5-10 years
I
down the line. So
I
I'm
think the
excited to see this.
I think the only way you have them lose this match is if Big E helps the War Raiders win, just to
And
stick it
you
to
know
the New
what?
Day.
So
That's the
so
only way
even if
it works.
so even if that does happen, because there's that rumor like, oh yeah, Big is cleared to
He's
wrestle.
not. He's not.
He's not. So I think the only way that does happen if Big E interferes, if he's cleared to wrestle, because that sets up a potential SummerSlam match
That's true.
between Kofi and Big E, or maybe even a handicap
Could
match.
be a triple threat.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And if the case, because they're trying to build SummerSlam as the next WrestleMania, right? They're doing
Yeah.
2 days for SummerSlam, uh,
That'll
happening
be
in
at
MetLife,
MetLife.
which,
Yep.
we'll talk about the ticket sales and everything like that maybe a little bit later in the show, but they're pushing this towards SummerSlam being like a second WrestleMania, like the, definitive, like if WrestleMania is A plus,
Yeah, because they're trying to make
WrestleMania
it's
SummerSlam is gonna be A tier.
right.
If SummerSlam if WrestleMania's on this whole spectrum of like by themselves, SummerSlam's gonna be right below it.
Right. They call it the biggest party of the summer for a reason, and they try to make it by making it now a 2 night show. It's done pretty good numbers for WrestleMania, having it now be 2 nights. So maybe they're hoping that it does the same thing for SummerSlam. Not that
Yeah, and
SummerSlam has had bad numbers, but they're hoping that it can get even
so
better in terms of ticket sales and stuff.
so yeah, I think this is gonna be experimental for the next 2 years,
Yeah.
because obviously the TKO era is completely different,
They're going to
especially
Minnesota next year, right? For it
yeah,
after,
and
yeah,
they announced that like, oh yeah, it's gonna be 2 day SummerSlam, and then they announced this year MetLife is gonna be in New York, and the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, has been lacking a major pay-per-view for a number of years now. I think the last pay-per-view that we had in this area might have been
Mania 35.
Backlash 2018, actually.
No, it's probably Mania 35 because that was 2019.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, Mania. So it is Mania
They haven't
35.
had a
Okay.
pay-per-view
Yeah,
since
yeah,
then.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
No, it hasn't. So the tri-state area is desperately lacking this. So I think a lot of these matches will be set up to go towards SummerSlam,
Yeah,
and then probably 50% are going to be the culmination of storylines, which is going to be a little weird to see because as fans, we want WrestleMania to be the culmination for every storyline, right?
Yeah.
Especially last year. Like last year, you had so many long term storylines, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in the making, finish at WrestleMania. Now you might see 7 or 8 finish them at WrestleMania, and you might see 5 or 6 of them be pushed towards SummerSlam. So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how what happens on the show this week. And speaking of the show that happens on Saturday, let's go to our next match, Johnson. A match that I think you and I will also agree on this one. At least I'm assuming you're going to agree on this one as well. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. Battle of the two best luchadors in all of WWE. Who do you think gets the win in that one?
El Grande Americano. So this has been a gimmick that was born in controversy has actually gotten over because if you listen to that last match on Monday Night Raw, the
He's
it's
over.
Chad Gable. No, it's not. That
It's
no, it's
not.
not was very loud. This is gonna kind
Yeah,
of give me vibes of Ezekiel Elias right after I think this was in
that
2021,
was 2022.
2022.
Yeah,
Excuse me. I guess after WrestleMania
that was
38.
after Mania 38 because then Kevin Owens got involved and that was after he got beat up by Stone Cold.
So this is giving me Ezekiel Elias vibes right now. So what I
Yeah,
would like to happen is I would like this to for a stipulation to be added: mask versus mask for mask.
mask for
Have
mask. Yeah.
Have Rey Mysterio win this, and have El Grande Americano unmask, and it's not Chad Gable.
Yep.
That would be absolutely fantastic. So with that being said, I still think El Grande Americano is going to win this, aka Chad Gable. For those of people
Whoa,
believing
whoa,
that,
whoa. Are you?
for
It's not
most
Chad
people
Gable.
believing that, yeah, for people
Oh
that
yeah,
believe
yeah,
that,
yeah.
right?
I don't know why you. It's a shame that he's not getting a Mania match again. It's 2 years in a
Yeah.
row. He should be on the card.
Yeah, one of the most talented, technical wrestlers on the roster, Chad
God, he should
Gable.
have won
But
the IC title last year. I'm so mad about that.
I think he'll get his run eventually. When
Yeah,
I'm not really sure.
yeah. I agree. I agree.
But yeah, give me El Grande Americano unless there's a stipulation. If the stipulation of mask v mask
If
is
it's
added,
mask and
which is
mask, yeah,
less than 1%, with less than 1%, because I don't think they'll have Ray do another
I
match
don't.
like that
Yeah, they
after the
wouldn't risk that.
WCW controversy from 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but if it does happen, give me El Grande Americano.
Okay. How about this next match in the women's division? Let's go with Jade Cargill versus Naomi. It's been a big long-term storyline that started off in November of 2024 and has now gotten into this year's WrestleMania. A big match for these two. I think it's the first match for female wrestlers going into a Mania card where there's no title on the line. Maybe a recent memory. I don't remember the last time it's happened, but it feels like it's been a long time since this has happened. Who do you
Yeah,
have
I
in that
mean,
match?
so this is my opinion when it comes to this. It has to be Jade Cargill within 30 seconds, or if this doesn't mean anything, either that happens or Bianca Belair is going to interfere and it sets up a match for him at SummerSlam. So Jade Cargill better win this in like 2 or 3 minutes, or if not, Bianca has to interfere and it sets up a match at SummerSlam. So give me Jade Cargill for now, though.
That match is gonna happen at some point. I'm it's gonna lead into what I think is gonna happen, and I'll talk about this in night two. Jade's got to win this match, but I think Naomi definitely deserves at least a chance to win this one. She's had a pretty. I've liked what she's done in terms of her promos the last couple of weeks. I think it's probably her best, in my opinion, her best work she's ever done with the company. She's a former two-time champion. Um, the heel turn feels justified in a sense. I think if they added Bianca to it, I think it would make a lot more sense. But I'll save that for when we talk about the women's triple threat on Sunday. I think Jade has to win the match. I think it's just because she still technically hasn't had a pinfall loss yet. I think you're saving that for a title match itself. So you don't want her to lose this match against Naomi, who, like I mentioned, definitely deserves her props in what she's done so far. And maybe it could even lead to a future title match for her in the next month or two. But I think for now, I think I'm going to lean towards Jade Cargill getting the win in that match against Naomi. But we'll see what happens in that one. How about the next matchup, Johnson, for the United States Championship? Our boy L.A. Knight taking on Jacob Fatu. This one is for me
Sleeper
really
match.
tough. It could be not only a good match, but I don't know who to pick. I'm having trouble picking this one.
So this is my opinion. I think the loser of this match is going to fight for the world heavyweight title at SummerSlam.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I think if you're LA Knight or Jacob Fatu are fighting for the World Heavyweight title against Jey Uso at SummerSlam. That's my
Okay.
opinion. So I think if LA, so you could, you can give me your opinion too, but I think if LA Knight loses, he turns heel, and if Jey Uso wins at Mania, it's heel LA Knight versus face Jey Uso at SummerSlam, which is a money match,
Could be a money
right?
match, yeah.
Now, both these guys are average in the ring, but their personas, their entrances, the fandom, the
Might
fans will
work.
carry that match.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they will carry that match.
Yep.
However, if you get someone like Jacob Fatu versus Gunther at SummerSlam, the in-ring work is going to be magic. So
Yeah, that match could
no
hit
matter
different.
what you, so I think LA Knight, and this is my spoiler. I think if LA Knight wins, Jey Uso is going to win. If Jacob Fatu loses, Gunther's going to win. That's my opinion here because I don't think you're gonna set up someone like okay, you have LA Knight versus Jey Uso for the title. You have LA Knight versus Jey Uso for the title, makes sense, right? Or you
Yeah.
have Fatu versus Gunther for the title, makes sense, right? Like you
Hmm.
wouldn't have Fatu versus Jey Uso, right? You have that bloodline stuff, but I think it really wouldn't, mesh as well. I don't think you want to pull the trigger on that kind of match for SummerSlam. That's a Rumble match, or that's a Mania match to me. So all that being said, I think LA Knight gets it done. And I think Jacob Fatu loses this match, and I think Solo interferes.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to say, I think the only way, you perfectly tied it up, because I think the only way Jacob Fatu loses the match is if Solo gets interferes, and he's trying to help Fatu originally, but then maybe he swerves at the end and doesn't help him.
I think it's going to be accidental because this is my thing. I think Solo will like it will happen accidentally, so LA Knight will retain. And this is a perfect world. Like if I was booking this, right? So LA Knight was going to win this match, right?
Hmm?
Because Solo, he tries to hit LA Knight with a chair or whatever. He hits Solo. He hits Jacob Fatu, whatever. Right? So there's some animosity building, right?
Yep.
And then SummerSlam, same thing happens again. Then at the Rumble, third time it happens for Fatu and Jay and Solo. Solo finally gets turned on by Jacob Fatu, uh, and then they set up a match at Mania. So there's a lot of different. There's a lot of avenues you can go down for this match, but I ultimately think LA Knight wins this because he wants that Mania moment in Vegas. So I'll give it to LA Knight. I don't think they'll put the US title on Jacob Fatu. I don't think they'll do it.
I told you I'm having trouble picking this one. I'm going to lean towards Fatu. I don't know. I'm going to lean towards him, and maybe they just set up a match between Solo and Fatu at Backlash, where they set it up on the SmackDown after Mania. Maybe that's where the heel turn comes from Solo. I'm just going based off of what I've seen the last couple of weeks. Fatu has looked insane. They've booked him phenomenally the last couple of weeks. I think the only reason LA Knight won the title was to get it on maybe Jacob Fatu. And remember, this also, I think the Kevin Owens injury also played a factor into this match happening. Because let's be real, I don't know what the U.S. title match would have been at Mania, but everyone was expecting Fatu to face Solo. Now they're having to save Solo for potentially facing a Randy Orton because now Randy Orton doesn't have an opponent for WrestleMania. So that might have been the reason why this match is where it's currently at with Fatu facing LA Knight for the title. I'm surprised that was the match to begin with because, like I mentioned, I thought it was him and Solo going to fight for sure. I think it's going to happen regardless. I think it's probably going to happen as soon as probably Backlash. So I might as well put a title on it. I'll go with Jacob Fatu to win the U.S. title, and I would love to see LA Knight maybe even turn heel like you mentioned and have him face a Jey Uso for the world title if he goes to Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm a big Jacob Fatu guy, but I think he's gonna be a guy I don't think will hold mid card titles. I think they'll build him as a monster
Yeah,
and give him the world heavyweight. I don't think he'll ever win the WWE championship because of the implication nowadays. Like with the
yeah.
WWE champion has to be the face of a company. He has
The
to be a
world title
John
fits him
Cena.
perfectly.
Yeah, he has to be a John Cena. He has to be a Cody Rhodes. He has to be this clean cut guy,
Yeah.
goody two shoes, whatever. So I think the world title, which is on par for the WWE title, is perfect for someone like Jacob Fatu, which I think he'll get at SummerSlam. But let's go to the next match, Nick. If you want to take us home.
Another match that I really having trouble pick as well because if you looked at how this week is, these last couple weeks have gone for these two, it's pretty much a toss up in my opinion who wins this matchup. Tiffany Stratton defending the Women's Championship against Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. Flair obviously winning the Royal Rumble back in January. Tiffany's had a nice run since winning the championship. I believe that was back in January as well when she cashed in the Money in the Bank briefcase. She's had a good run so far, but this promo that has been going on with Charlotte the last couple weeks has been very interesting. They went off script last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Last Friday, they had Charlotte attack Tiffany in the parking lot, and then after her match against Roxanne. So it's like, I don't know the direction that they are going to. Charlotte very much well could win number 15. And I think the only reason that would give me clarification that it's going to happen is because look what happened to Rhea Ripley back in 2020, where they had her face the young upstart rookie, and they had Charlotte win the title. I wouldn't be surprised if they just do it again and have her beat Tiffany Stratton, but Tiffany definitely deserves an opportunity to retain the title come WrestleMania Saturday.
So this is my opinion. Triple H is a notorious long-term booker. Going back from his days of booking NXT of Black and Gold to modern day WWE, the main roster, he's a notorious long-term booker. So if I'm thinking in the mind of Triple H, he's gonna have Charlotte Flair win at Mania. He's gonna have her uh, win at SummerSlam versus Tiffy. Charlotte's gonna hold this belt for a while, and then Tiffy's gonna, earn her way back, to the main event at WrestleMania, and then Tiffy's gonna win the rematch next year at Mania.
Okay.
That's how this trilogy is gonna go. And Charlotte's gonna hold this belt for a while. It may be her last hurrah for she gets to 15, maybe she gets to 16 eventually, but this is gonna be her last like kind of long term thing, and then she's eventually gonna put Tiffy over next year
Yeah.
because they want Tiffy to Tiffy, she cashed in Money in the Bank, whatever. I think they're gonna use this as an excuse to pin her to win the Rumble next year. So kind of the same thing happens. It's like deja vu. And so I think that's why Charlotte's going to win. Because Charlotte, even though people give Charlotte a lot of crap, she doesn't put talent over. She does put talent over because Rhea Ripley's most memorable match is with Charlotte at WrestleMania. Charlotte has put over a lot of wrestlers when the time is right.
Hmm.
And I don't think it's Tiffy time just yet, but next year, give her this whole like underdog approach. Like, oh yeah, Charlotte, the vet here, and she's gonna hold this title for the next, year now. And then Tiffy's gonna have this kind of like Cody arc where, she loses at Mania and she has to win the Rumble, and then she comes back stronger and wins at Mania the next year. And then they have another 7, 8, 9 years, however long, Tiffy stays with WWE to kind of be the face of that women's division. But to do that, you have to give her an underdog story, and I think the only wrestler this would make sense with is Charlotte. It's the only believable one.
I think the only reason I wasn't originally leaning Charlotte, I was leaning towards Tiffany, but I think as we were talking, I'm thinking about the state of the women's division on SmackDown. And I'm looking at the big picture for them. And it's like, if you look at the people that are, baby faces, as I like to call it, it's what Tiffany Stratton is the best one. And then it's what after
You
that?
have
Maybe
Michin.
I would say Alexa Bliss is probably the second best one. She hasn't been on TV in weeks.
Yeah.
And then your heels are with Charlotte, and then Nia Jax, I think, is the second best one, I think, on the whole roster. So if you look at it as in terms of what matchmaking can you make after, oh, I should say Jade Cargill and Naomi, I guess, also deserve that moniker as well. They're on the same brand, but um, if you look at how they're going to book after Mania, because you have to also think about what they're going to do after Mania when it comes to this. If Tiffany wins, then who is Tiffany facing after? Is it a Naomi? Is it Nia Jax again? Because Nia Jax technically, I don't think has gotten her rematch. Maybe it did. I think it ended a DQ finish. So maybe you book that. If you give it a Charlotte, I guess maybe you could build up someone on the roster. You could go back to Tiffany. You're probably going to try to set up a Jade Cargill and Charlotte Flair match because after that stare down they had weeks ago, they're going to have that match at some point. That might very well could be the match at SummerSlam that happens at MetLife. And there's other, you mentioned Michin, there's other people on the roster maybe they could use in terms of that. Now, if I had to guess, they're probably going to do something in the WWE draft to get a little bit more variety on that roster as well. So as we kept talking about it, I think we're gonna go with Charlotte. I was leaning towards Tiffany to win the match. I kind of want her to win the match, but I'm gonna go with Charlotte Flair to win the title. I'm right with you on that one as well.
So does that feel weird for you now, or
In terms of me being on the same side with you, or just me picking Charlotte?
picking Charlotte?
I don't have beef with Charlotte. I never really did. It was just more of like I like Tiffany. I think she's done great work in her less what was it 1 year she's been on the main roster. It's just the way that this storyline has gone. It hasn't been the greatest one. That the best thing they've done this entire storyline was the one where they went off script, and I don't know if they're going to punish someone for that happening because I think Tiffany was the one that went off script first. So it probably will lead to her maybe getting punished, and then Triple H says, "Oh, you know what? We want to build you still high, but we're going to give Charlotte this win, and then we're going to build you to the point where maybe, like you mentioned, they have her fight her again at SummerSlam, or they have a rematch at WrestleMania next year at 42, and then she gets a big win that time. So she's still got a young career. She has so many years ahead of her, but I'm just gonna go with Charlotte. Just go with the veteran experience, and we'll see what they build after that. I'm sure that a Jade Cargill match between her and Charlotte's gonna happen. I'm sure a rematch with Tiffany's gonna happen. Maybe an Alexa Bliss match if they use her. I'm sure there's a plenty of opportunity Triple H will use if they have Charlotte Flair as a champion once again.
Yeah, and let's talk about Gunther versus Jey Uso now for the World Heavyweight Title.
Whew,
Uh, may
gotta be Jey
start the
Uso, right?
show. Yeah, listen. I
I
think
think this
that
is the
Gunther
opener
should
for
win this.
Saturday.
So here's the thing: it's the opener for Saturday, and I think Jey Uso is going to win it. But if Jey Uso does win it, it kind of leads to Gunther's credibility. Can he win the big match? And again,
Yeah,
I know this is all scripted. It's predetermined, whatever. But to the fan, like if you
he
see
won
him
in
lose
LA,
to Sami
but
Zayn
yeah, the
first,
last 2
then he
years can be
loses to Jey
rough.
Uso. He loses to two underdogs. You know, in title matches,
It's the
it kind
same
of raises.
storyline in a sense from last year with Sami Zayn, where off the rip, Gunther is beating the crap out of these guys week in and week out, and then it's like the week or two before Mania, and Sammy last year had that montage video with Chad Gable, and that got him into the spot where he won. And then this year, it's Jey Uso after Gunther beat the hell out of Jimmy Uso the week prior. It's Jay coming out and saying like, "I gotta do this for my family. I'm like, I'm not doing this for anyone else. Like, I'm not scared of you anymore. Like, I'm beating you at Mania." And I'm like, well, that alone just has to tell me, and not for nothing. I think we all knew once he picked Gunther, he was probably going to win regardless. Because why would you give Jey Uso the Royal Rumble win to begin with if you were going to have him win the title at WrestleMania? It was just it would basically be a waste of a Royal Rumble win if you had Gunther win this match. It has nothing against Gunther. It's just you wasted the Royal Rumble if you had Jey Uso win it for nothing. You have to give him the title.
Yeah, you said it well there. I don't think there's really much for me to
No,
add there.
let's just go to the triple threat main event.
Yeah.
Big one between Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. Of course, Johnson, the biggest storyline in this one. The the all important favor that CM Punk got granted after the War Games match in November. That favor was that Paul Heyman will be in CM Punk's corner for this year's WrestleMania, so he will not be in the corner of his tribal chief Roman Reigns. We've seen Seth Rollins as of late being a little bit heelish, if you want to put it into words. We'll see what happens tomorrow night on Monday Night Raw as well. But I am very intrigued about how this match goes. I wish there was a stipulation that involved a future title match, maybe. It's still going to be, in my opinion, a really solid match. And I have an opinion of how I think it's going to end, but I would like to hear your thoughts first before I make my pick.
Yeah, so Paul Heyman works as a heel. He really doesn't work as a face. So I think that he's going to turn on both CM Punk and Roman Reigns, and
Love it.
Seth Rollins becomes the next Paul Heyman
I
guy.
am right with you. That's exactly what I'm thinking too. I think after what we saw on Raw, they are leaning towards Seth Rollins becoming the heel again, and I think he needs it. It's not that Seth Rollins is not a good babyface; he's one of the better ones, but he also works really well as a heel. And if you look at this too, Roman Reigns does not need this win. He does not need to win this WrestleMania match. CM Punk, I get it; it's his first Mania main event, but what better way for his first Mania main event to go down if he were to get screwed by his quote unquote best friend, and he goes to the guy that he hates the most in the entire WWE, and Seth Rollins. It would be legit cinema, as they like to call it. Seth has to win this match.
I think so too. Seth needs this win.
I think there's leaning. I heard a rumor that they're leaning towards Roman and Punk in the summer. That might be a SummerSlam match too. So you don't necessarily need you can necessarily don't have to build this match up where Punk pins Roman or whatever, and then that's how they get SummerSlam. Have Rollins win this match, and Rollins could be that guy that if let's say, he's fighting against a Cody or whatever, or he's fighting for the WWE title, the world title. He's a credible top heel that should get a world title push at some point in the next couple months. He could probably be the one that he might be the one that takes the title of Jey Uso if he stays on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I guess only time will tell. So,
Let's go to Sunday.
yeah.
Let's start off with the women's tag team title match. The champions are Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. They're taking on Bayley and the women's Intercontinental Champion Lyra Valkyria. They won a gauntlet match on SmackDown to earn this title match. I'm still weirded out. I thought that Bayley and Lyra were going to fight for the IC title. I thought someone else was going to win that gauntlet, but that wasn't the case. I think I'm just going to pick Liv and Raquel to retain. I think Bayley's going to heel turn.
Wow. You read my Google Sheets beforehand? Yeah, because
No.
Liv and Raquel are going to retain. And the only thing that makes it interesting is Bayley turns heel because
Yeah,
I think she's
Bayley has
boring
to
as
turn
a
heel.
face. She's boring as a face. And,
Yeah.
her heel work is excellent. I would say if she's a heel, she's top 2.
Yeah.
But as a face, she's just, whatever.
Her run last year towards Mania made sense, and it was a good babyface run because that made the most sense. Like, you were facing EO, you got turned on by your former teammates in Damage Control. That made the most sense, and it made sense for her to win the title. This time around, it makes no sense for them to win the tag titles. The only thing that makes sense is that Bayley turns heel, you have her win the Intercontinental title, and then you can move Lyra to SmackDown, and she could be one of those people that fights a Charlotte for the women's title down the line. You need to build her up too because they're trying to build her up as credible in the women's division, and it's been kind of on and off with that IC title even around her waist. So they need something credible to make that title something worth. And if you have Bayley turn on Lyra and go after that title, then you make that title credible. So I'm right with you on that one. Great minds think alike, in my opinion. I think we're hitting the nail on the head with these matches so far. What about AJ Styles and Logan Paul?
Logan Paul, AJ Styles is at the point of his career, unfortunately, where he's going to put over young talent.
Yeah.
If Logan Paul is actually serious about wrestling full time, which kind of seems like it is, he'll put Logan Paul over.
Now, yeah, I don't really have much about this match. I think Logan Paul has got to win, in my opinion. I don't really see a reason why AJ Styles needs to win this match. If they want to build Logan Paul up as a credible threat to maybe winning a world title someday, then they have to just let him win a match like this at WrestleMania. Now, the next match, now we don't know if this is going to be on Saturday or Sunday. This is the match that we talked about earlier that hasn't been confirmed yet.
This is a Sunday match.
I think it's going to happen on Sunday as well. Randy Orton is facing a mystery opponent, it looks like, as of now. Now, the rumors are Nick Aldis, the general manager of SmackDown. I've heard Aleister Black. I've heard Rusev. It might be Solo Sikoa. There's a bunch. I think those are the 4 top candidates that he could fight. I'll give you a twofer for this. Give me who you think he's gonna fight and who's gonna win that match.
Aleister Black returns and wins.
Aleister Black return and win. Okay. I don't hate it. That would be interesting if they put Aleister Black. It's not the same as Seth fighting Cody a few years ago because you knew Seth was going to have the mystery opponent. This only happened because of Kevin Owens being injured. And it sucks because I was really looking forward to that match. That match was going to be a good one between Owens and Orton. You know what? I'm going to go with Nick Aldis. I think he fights Nick Aldis. That's the only thing I've been seeing as of late.
So does he return as Magnus?
I would love to see that happen. But I'll just give Randy Orton the win. Orton, you know what the thing is also? I feel like they're building towards Orton fighting for the title at next month's pay-per-view, which is in St. Louis. And it might spoil who I'm picking for the main event, but I think that's the match they're going with. That's next at Backlash. So I'll talk about that in a few minutes. They just need to give Randy Orton some momentum going into that match. So just have Randy beat the GM of SmackDown and then move on into that title match next month at WrestleMania Backlash in St. Louis. How about this Intercontinental title Fatal 4-way match? Braun Breaker, Penta, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio. Who comes out on top with the dub?
Dirty Dom is going to pin Finn Balor, break up Judgment Day,
man.
And he's going to get that IC title for his first single.
Godson,
his first single. I mean, listen, I know he had the North American title.
Yeah.
like his first title run on the main roster.
I'm right with you. I think he pins Finn Balor to wins the title. I'm right with you on that. I 100% believe that's going to happen. They're teasing it. They've been teasing it for weeks. Finn Balor's going to get kicked out of the Judgment Day as soon as Monday Night Raw happens the next night. It's happening that Raw after.
Hey,
Or
no,
it
it's
could
been
even
going
happen
on for
at
years.
WrestleMania. It could even happen that night.
Judgment Day. It's been going for what 3 years now. Judgment Day.
They started in, yeah, they started WrestleMania 38.
Yeah, so it's going on 3 years. It's kind of overdue. Like
Yeah.
the stable faction life,
Well, I mean,
unless you're the
it's
NWO
not
or
like,
DX or what Evolution. Like
yeah, they're still going to
yeah,
be going. It's just going to be a different iteration of what it used to be. Like, you know what could happen? It could be Dom wins. They finally add that new member that they've been hinting at for weeks. It could even be Aleister Black. They've been teasing him on SmackDown, but it could be Aleister Black. I think that would fit that you know Judgment Day in a sense, but it could very well be someone else, like maybe like a Karrion Cross. Someone's gonna get added, and honestly, that's probably how they get this done. I think if they wanted to do that, they have Penta and Braun. Maybe Braun. I'm picturing it right now. I guarantee if this happens word for word, I might as well go hit the lottery. Braun's gonna spear Penta through the barricade. They both get knocked out. It's Dom and Finn in the ring alone, and whoever the newest member of the Judgment Day is gonna interfere in the match, help Dom win the IC title, and Finn gets kicked out of the group. I think it happens on WrestleMania, so I'm right with you.
I'm looking. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, Ben.
How about the Sin City street fight between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre? Technically a rematch of last year's WrestleMania, even though it was like a 10-second match. But yeah, it's a rematch of WrestleMania from last year. How about who wins this one?
McIntyre, he needs this win.
I want it, Johnson. I want him to win. I don't think he's gonna win though. I'm gonna go with Damian Priest. We've been agreeing on so much. I'm just gonna go Damian Priest. I think they're building it towards. If you look at how the last couple of weeks have gone, Priest has they've been going back and forth, getting the better of each other. Um, I don't know. I just it just goes down to McIntyre hasn't been booked great these last couple of months. Ever since his feud ended with CM Punk, it has not gone great. They need to build him back up better after Mania. I don't know if that means he needs to stay heel. Maybe he turns face again. I would love to see him if Seth Rollins turns. I would love to see him in a faction with Rollins and being like those guys and like be like, yeah, screw the bloodline, screw all the Roman, previous stuff. Like we're the top heel faction all of WWE. Like they're the Paul Heyman guys or whatever you want to call it. Like I would love to see that happen. Um, I just don't know if he's gonna win this match against Damian Priest. So I'm gonna have Priest win this match and get his vindication once again against Drew McIntyre. How about the women's triple threat match for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship?
This has to be Io Sky. She lost last Mania, and if you remember last year on the build to Mania, she really didn't have that many matches because
Nope.
the WWE management knew the second that listen, I know in NXT she was super over, whatever, but she didn't have many matches on the main roster going into Mania.
But she's still
Uh,
over now, for sure.
because they knew, yeah, because they knew the second that she, the universe saw her perform in the ring, she'd be super over, and like it'd be and they want Bailey to get cheered over Io, so that's why they did it. And it'd be
Yeah.
very hard if she had multiple matches going into that Mania to cheer against Io. So now that she's had that experience, she has that reputation. She's getting big pops, and I think she gets the big win on the main stage here. Rhea Ripley doesn't need this win. Bianca doesn't need this win.
No.
Io needs this win. So give me Io Sky.
Here's where I'm thinking. So out of the three, Rhea does not need it the most. Rhea's done enough on the WrestleMania stage. She's already had a great year in terms of WWE. They need to give her maybe a little bit of a break. Not saying that she's time off, but maybe more of the fact that maybe even have her go to SmackDown. Maybe have her fight Charlotte. That would be another great feud. They've always obviously had their great feuds in years past. It comes down to Bianca and Io, in my opinion, for this match. And I'm going to go with Bianca. And the only reason I want Bianca to win is she has to turn heel. If she does not turn heel after winning the title, then it makes no sense to me. Io, I think, is the only other one out of the three that I could see winning the match and just retaining it. But I feel like they're leaning towards Bianca getting the title done. And if you look at how she's been acting the last couple of weeks, she's been kind of acting in a heelish way. I think they're leaning towards that happening. And I think the best way to do it is have her win the match And I think she should just flat out on the next night on Raw be like, yeah, you know what? I did help Naomi. I was lying all along. I helped Naomi attack Jay Cargill and all that like BS and whatever. Like just do something like that. I wish the both that this match and the Jade and Naomi match were on the same show because it would have worked out so perfectly, and it would have worked out in terms of the heel turn in great fashion. It sucks that they're on two separate nights. I think Bianca wins. I think she turns heel, and Braun gets a credible heel world champion because they don't have that right now. That's been a big problem for them. They haven't had it. Liv Morgan was that one person. And after Liv Morgan, you don't really have anyone else. So give it to Bianca. Let her turn heel.
And
And that
now for the main event.
what a main event we got. Cody Rhodes against the newly heel John Cena in his final WrestleMania match of his entire WWE career. I think you and I are going to be on the same page for this one as well. Can John Cena break Ric Flair's record and get number 17 on Sunday night on WrestleMania?
I don't think we're on the same record. I don't think we're on the same page here.
Who do you have?
I think you have Cody Rhodes, right?
I have John Cena winning.
Oh, so you have Cena?
I have Cena.
So I have Cena because I have Randy betraying Cody Rhodes to set up the match at Backlash.
Oh, see, I have Cena winning, but I have Cena facing Orton next month at Backlash.
No, I have Randy. Okay, so I have Randy betraying Cena, betraying Cody Rhodes because they've been hinting at that. Triple H's,
That should have been the
BS.
match initially. It should have been
His
Randy and Cody this at this
yeah,
Mania.
yeah. So like his foreshadowing where Randy Orton has always been staring at that title going back from last year's WrestleMania. He's always been kind of caught in that in that hard cam shot or at the end of the pay per view, staring at that title next to Cody. So he's going to betray his mentee, one of his oldest friends in business, going back over a decade.
You know Cena's going to win in a heelish way. It's either someone's going to interfere or he's going to do something in the match that gets him the win.
I
It could be
think
the
that
Rock. It could be very well be the Rock that helps him win.
yeah, listen, there's a lot of theories here that Jey Uso is going to lose and he's going to join. Drew McIntyre's losing, he could be like the third and fourth man.
I heard the
Kind of
rumor if
stuff like
Jinder
that.
wins that he might join the Rock, and I heard that rumor, and I don't know if to believe that, but that would make I feel like that would make very telling storyline because they're gonna add. I feel like they're making a faction for Cena.
Yeah, they
Like
are for his last because Cena's never really had a true faction.
yeah, I mean he's never had it.
Yeah, like he's had tag teams, right? But he's never
Yeah,
had a true faction.
right. I think that they keep teasing. The reason I see Cena and Orton at Backlash is because if you look at how they advertise Backlash every week on Raw, they show it. They show the advertisement. They only show Cena and Orton on the advertisement, and I'm thinking, oh, they're just advertising Cena's going to face Orton at this pay per view. Whether that's for the title or not, I'm not sure. But you know they're going to fight at one point because you can't have a Cena retirement tour with him not fighting Randy Orton at least one more time during this run, and to do it for the world title, where Randy Orton, as you mentioned, is also trying to fight to get up to that title mark as well, where he's at 14 right now.
Yeah, listen, in a perfect world, I think I would have Randy Orton go back and forth with Cody Rhodes, get to 15,
Yeah,
16, have him drop it.
fight for 17.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how I would do it. But I don't think we live in a perfect world. But this is the next best thing we have. So let's Cena get 17, then let's have Randy Orton maybe get beat Cena
yeah.
for
I don't
17,
know if
maybe.
you have Cody win. I don't know where you go with either one because then where do you go with Cena after this? Like you have him advertised for the next pay per view. Are you going to have him just fight Cody and or have him fight Randy and that's it? Or and the same thing goes for Cody. If Cody wins and retains, then where is Cody going after this? Who is he fighting at Backlash? It could be Orton. Maybe it's what you said, and that's where the heel turn comes. Or
Cody deserves some time off. He's been full time,
yeah, he's
house shows, all
yeah
across the United States, in
he's
Europe,
been running through a brick
Asia.
wall.
Yeah, he's been everywhere. Australia, he's been out. He's been on multiple
Right.
continents, 24/7, 3-4 days a week. Give him a break.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely deserves. I just don't know where you go with Cody if he wins the title. I don't know what you do. It makes more sense if you have Cena win the title. Maybe you even have him get injured. Like you have like after like match like beat down, and then that's how you write Cody off for TV. And then Cody comes back, and then like you said, have Cody fight Cena at SummerSlam. That's exactly how you could book it. Like you just have Cody off for a couple months. I think it makes the most sense. Cena has to win the match. It's kind of like Jey Uso, where if Cena won the Rumble, I'm not saying it would have been a waste, but you need him to win. Like Jey Uso winning the Rumble, it means he has to win the title because it's just a waste of a Rumble. Cena winning the Elimination Chamber is the exact same thing because you wasted that Chamber match if you don't have Cena win the title. Because you could have just given Punk his title match, and then that could have been, any man's guess to see if who would win between Punk and Rhodes. Cena winning that match and turning heel, that's the other reason. You had Cena turn heel. You have to let him win this match because you need to see how far you can go along with the story, and then you could turn Cena back to babyface by the time by the time this run is almost over. You could have it probably turn after SummerSlam. Have him lose the title at SummerSlam, and then look at that, he's back to a babyface again because they respected him for the run he has as a 17-time world champion. So have Cena win, don't make the Elimination Chamber and the heel turn happen, and make it into a case where it didn't matter because Cody still won the match regardless of what happened these last couple weeks. So Cena needs to win, in my opinion. That's how I feel about that match.
So just to sum up some of these odds, by the way, you can find online. Jacob Fatu is minus 700 to win this match. Dom
Mm.
Mysterio is the favorite. Drew McIntyre's favorite. Jay Cargill, Charlotte Flair. Jay
Drew
Uso
McIntyre's the
have
favorite, really?
he is the favorite. Yeah. Charlotte Flair is the favorite, only at minus 130, minus
Yeah,
110.
that's a
Jay
pick 'em.
Uso Jay Uso is a heavy favorite. Bianca Belair is minus 105 versus Io Sky plus 120.
That's a pick 'em
So
too. Yeah,
still pick them. Rey Mysterio minus 150 over El Grande
disgusting.
Americano.
Alquano better win.
Minus 150 plus 110, kind of a pick 'em. And CM Punk is minus 190. Seth Rollins plus 175. Roman Reigns plus
I love
250.
that odds. I would take I would
Still,
take Rollins any day.
yeah, still pick 'em, kind of. And
Yeah,
Cena minus 210. Rhodes plus 160. Pick 'em. And really, this is a pick 'em mania for half this stuff right now.
yeah,
And then the betting odds for who Randy's going to face. Nick Aldis is 10 to 11, so he's a slight favorite. Alistair Black at 2 to 1, Solo Sikoa at 4 to 1, a little bit Kaiser at 5 to 1, and my favorite out of all of this is Ric Flair 100 to 1. Let it happen.
As soon as you said my favorite, I go, it's gonna be Ric Flair.
Ric Flair at 100 to 1 and Triple H at 50 to
Oh,
1. So
Triple H cannot fight. You know he can't. Ric Flair has a better chance of fighting than Triple H does. I will say,
well,
now that you said Ric Flair, I kind of want to see it happen now.
let it happen. Book a
I'm not.
Triple H.
I am not opposed. Yeah, I think that's the beauty of this mania. I think any match can go any way. It's not like anything's set in stone. I think the only matches that are set in stone are probably Jey Uso winning, Jay Cargill, and Logan Paul. I would say
You know,
probably those.
I won't even say that because Gunther was like minus 5,000 last year and he lost. So like nothing set in stone.
I just think that I think the only reason I say Jey Uso is because of how the storyline's gone. Like I said, you can't. You're wasting the Royal Rumble win for Jay if you have him lose again to a guy he's already lost to. Like, what was the point of having him win then? You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to have him win. You can't have him lose. It'd be stupid. You just make the Royal Rumble a non-factor pretty much at this rate when if he loses the match at Mania. That's how I felt last year with Cody too. Like if Cody lost to Roman, and then what was the point of having Cody win back-to-back Rumbles just to lose to Roman Reigns twice in a row? Like it would have made no sense.
Because it would have been funnier the second time around.
We all know your stance on Cody Rhodes. But yeah, I mean, a different aspect for us this year. We were at the stadium last year to watch WrestleMania 40. We'll be at home watching it this time around, but it still should be a very good show in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Which
You have any
which
final
I will
thoughts?
say, yeah. But so my final thoughts are as follows: WWE ticket prices for WrestleMania have been dropping rapidly.
Yes.
You have stuff in the 400 in the upper deck right now, going from $400 to $200 overnight. Now, I had my hotel room booked for a straight up year because I was hoping that ticket price would be similar to last year or 2 years ago, whatever. But you made $1,200 for 2 nights in the 300s for WrestleMania, and I canceled my hotel room, and I'm sure a lot of people did. And you have barely 50,000 people there when you could fit an extra 10,000 each night. So WWE effectively priced themselves out of having maybe an all-time high gate there at WrestleMania.
Right.
And I hope they learn from SummerSlam because you priced me out, and I was willing to fly from New York to Las Vegas for WrestleMania. I had my hotel room booked. I would
Yep.
have booked the flight, and I wasn't going to pay $1,200 to sit in the boonies. I wasn't, especially after last year when I paid
Just
six hundred dollars to sit in the
look
one
at how
hundreds
people were
last
sitting for the
year.
Super Bowl. Like last year, like they were paying insane prices, and they were sitting. And again, it's a different aspect, it's Super Bowl, but there's seats in that stadium where it's like a really not a great view, and you're paying like hundreds and maybe even thousands of dollars just to sit up there.
So I'm hoping that because you guys, it's not official, but you guys didn't release these tickets because of these poor ticket sales for WrestleMania. Let's face the facts.
Yeah,
Because we were at that Monday Night Raw where they usually give a pre-sale code for the next event happening in the tri-state area
and they did not.
in March, and they didn't do it for SummerSlam, which I was surprised by because you guys were scared about SummerSlam. So maybe you guys are going to learn with pricing. You're not going to price everyone out of SummerSlam because listen, if SummerSlam is $600 for 2 nights, I'm going to sit at home and watch it. That's what, and
Which
there's going to
sucks because
be
I don't want to do
thousands of people that
that.
do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
um, there's gonna be thousands of people do it because it's already pain in the ass to get to MetLife Stadium, and it takes an hour and a half to get in there and out of there. So if you price it accordingly, you're gonna see fans there. Don't price yourself out the way you did for WrestleMania this year. That's all
yeah.
I'm gonna say.
Yeah, no, I'm right with you. I'm hoping that they figure out that and that because they obviously want to have a big crowd at these shows. This is the biggest of them all, WrestleMania, and then in the summer they have SummerSlam and the Tri-State Era showed out for the last WrestleMania that happened at MetLife, and I'm sure they'll show out at SummerSlam if they get a nice crowd. So I agree with you. They definitely need to get the prices down in terms of that. So hopefully they figure that out in the next couple of months because there's still a little bit of time away before we get to SummerSlam. I think that's what 4 months from now. I think it's 4 months from now since we're in
Yes, sir.
April.
About 110 days.
Yeah. So a lot of time away until we get to that point. But for us, Johnson, we're staying busy here on the All Gas No Break Sports Show. Now, obviously, with WrestleMania happening this week, not only is that the only thing happening on Saturday, the NBA playoffs are starting next weekend as well. So it's going to be very busy for you and I having to watch both WrestleMania and the NBA playoffs, especially for our New York Knicks, depending on what day they play on. But you and I will go more of an in detail talk about the NBA playoffs later on in the week, breaking down each matchup that happens in the first round of the NBA playoffs. And then we'll be making our predictions for those first round matchups and then breaking down each round as they end, all the way towards the NBA Finals where we will crown an NBA champion this upcoming season. But as I mentioned, that will be happening later on in the show this week. And of course, as I mentioned as well from last week's show, next week, Johnson, is the big important show for us. It is the All Gas, No Break Sports Show mock draft happening on our show. We'll be breaking down each team's needs for the NFL draft, what they've done in the offseason, and then you and I will be making picks as the quote unquote GMs of each team. We'll still try to figure out exactly what type of order we'll do for that one. We'll have it eventually, though, going into next week. And we will be making those picks on the show and see how many we get right before the NFL draft kicks off on April 24th, next Thursday. So it should be a fun couple of weeks here on the All Gas No Break Sports Show. But that'll do it for this week's edition of the show with WrestleMania on the horizon, kicking off next Saturday, April 19th, and of course on April 20th, the following Sunday on Easter Sunday. So it should be a very eventful Sunday in a lot of American homes. Will be a very good card, as you mentioned. 14 matches are going to happen at this year's WrestleMania, so it's a very stacked card. Who will come on the top and win these respective matches? We'll have to tune in to Peacock and find out who will win all these matches next Saturday and Sunday in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium for WrestleMania 41. This has been Nicholas Pavona, joined alongside by my co-host Andrew Johnson for the All Gas No Break Sports Show. Have a great rest of your week.